glad of the opportunity to talk about the PDST. It's brand new. It's the new support service, commenced on the 1st of September and will be launched probably within a month. Right? What I mean by launched is we'll have a full website and so on. Just maybe before going ahead into it, just have one quick look at the support service for teachers. And I have it broken up into three areas. Before 1994, there was very little in service. And the type of in-service that occurred was usually in service because of, we'll say, passionate people in associations like the Irish Science Teachers Association and the Institute of Physics. Plus, when there'd be a change of syllabus, that'd be a stimulus where the inspector would come along and bring a group of teachers together from around the country, and they would, I suppose, prepare materials and go around, bring people up to speed with content and stuff like that. So that was the type of service that was going on. Then the 95 to 2009, I suppose it was a good time for Ireland. Things were going very well. And there was also, I suppose, thinking about a teacher professional support service. And what happened here during that period was there were 21 teacher centres, which we now call education centres, set up full-time around the country, and teachers met in groups there. Firstly, when there was a change of syllabus, a group of teachers would be brought together, they'd develop materials under guidance of an inspector, and they'd meet teachers during school time. It was the first time it happened during school time. There was substitution, and it lasted about 2 or 3 years, 4 years in the case of physics. After that, they had to have there was a kind of a change of direction. What do we do? So we've 3 or 4 years of in service. Does it die? And looking at what our neighbours were doing in Europe, and also the kind of educational research, people bought in, especially the department, were buying into the idea, yes, there's huge values to be got from support service. And the teacher continued professional development moved into the second level support service. During that time, it became quite awkward for schools to manage because we had around 18 different services out on the road. You had all the different support services for the subjects, plus you had program service and so on. So there was a restructuring about 2008 whereby when the subject support for a new syllabus was over, that people moved into what was known as a continued professional development stage. This was completely elective, so it didn't occur very often during school time. It did, early on it did, right? So people would opt to go to it. Also, there was a change from being kind of a top-down to being from a bottom-up. So the change was that it became what we call a peer-to-peer support, a kind of a handing on of the baton, where we have experienced teachers sharing their experience with other teachers. These were organised locally around education centres, and communities of practice were built up. So that's basically where we are at the moment. Now, the PDST then came along and saw that there was the teacher education section department, that there were a lot of diversity out there, a lot of different programs. So they brought them all together under what's known as the PDST. It's cross-sectoral, so it'll cover primary and post-primary, and it's going to be a regional focus as well. So that's the type of a setup. There are 76 full-time teachers seconded. You can see there's 6 regions. The education centres are broken up into different regions. The setup of the team, the national director is a man by the name of Paddy Keys. He was formerly coordinator of the T4 subjects. And you have regional coordinators that will coordinate the support in the regions. Right? Plus, we also have subject coordinators, and that's where I fall in second level. So having a look then more specifically at what we're at, there were subject pillars set up for a second level. There were 5 of them. So all the languages were branded in together. The maths and science, that's the one that I coordinate, that I'm going to be speaking on, is a separate branch, and the business cultural environment. Now, having a look at the maths and sciences. In the maths and sciences, we have 8 subjects. Right? With 2 there, the applied maths and agricultural science in a different colour. That reason for that is that they had never had an intensive in service. But because of, I suppose, equality, it is important that all subjects get some type of support. Home economics and junior science. The home economics spans junior and senior cycle, whereas junior science is in the junior cycle. The maths, the majority of the maths support is now done by project maths. The reason it's up there by us is because we have a website whereby there are some materials and resources that were prepared while there was an intensive course going on with maths, and rather than let it die. And the one that we're interested in most, I suppose, is the physics one. So that's what I'll spend the rest of the time nearly on. But first, just to get an idea of what's actually happening. So we have a support for physics. It has a national and it has a regional remit. Right? And this is the type of structure we work within. So in other words, I coordinate home economics. My background is not home economics. But I'm very fortunate that there are loads of very enthusiastic home economics teachers out there who are willing to contribute. Now, the same is happening in physics. In physics, we have a team of what we call local facilitators. A number of them are here today. And they're willing to share their experience with colleagues. That involves very often facilitating at courses, developing materials, and I suppose sharing good practice, identifying it first and then sharing it. The people whose names are there are what are called associates, so they look after the subjects for me. I put them up there because I know a number of you know Mary Lee and you'd know Brendan Dewan, and John is here as well for junior science. And the other ones where my name appears is that there's no associate. So in other words, because of the fiscal conditions that exist, it wasn't possible to put associates in there. Going down, our local facilitators work closely with the education centres, and we work then, I suppose, locally around the education centres to support identified needs. The website is a kind of a national aspect to it, where we can get messages out to everyone. And another thing on the website, and I know the majority of you here are registered, if you register on the website your details, then you'll get an email of all the upcoming relevant courses. Now, I looked yesterday before coming up, and there's 760 physics teachers registered on that. So it means if you didn't get notification of any upcoming courses, you're not registered. And because it's elective, and it's your right and it's your responsibility if you're interested, and we'd love to hear from you. Okay. Just on the logo for the physics up there, our logo is chosen as the induction coil, and it's very appropriate today because it's in honour of our famous Irish physicist, Father Callan, who discovered the induction coil here. These are the type of supports that we have. Now, the websites I won't go into for the moment. In other words, I invite people to have a look at them. And especially things like courses are all up there. So if somebody says to you, what course is coming up in physics or in any other thing, ask them to have a look on the website, especially on the course schedules, and they'll find out there. E-learning. We also have a bit of e-learning. John runs online courses for junior science teachers. It's not possible for teachers very often if they're living 40, 50 miles away from an education centre to attend an evening course. It's different in areas of population. So we find e-learning can really help there. Science through Irish. We support the teachers that teach the subjects through Irish as well. So physics teachers that teach through the medium of Irish have a support day where they like to come together and share their issues and their experiences and compile resources. And we also have special projects. Now, this is a special project. We support the Frontiers of Physics, and we support, I suppose, lots of other projects that would be relevant and supportive of the teachers in the classroom. Our main focus is the teaching of the subject in the classroom. So, we'll say before this, the focus might have been on content, whereas our big focus now will be on the communication of the content, on the teaching strategies and methodologies that we can use to engage the students. We work closely with groups like the education centres, the department, third level, IOP, ISTA, etc. And I suppose one of the things we do is to identify needs. Now we take what we're informed, I suppose, by colleagues out there who tell us what they need. We're also informed by what school subject inspections see out there and what we read from their reports. We're also informed by system needs. So we have lots of different things that inform our needs. And also we, I suppose, look to Einstein to give us a little piece of help here. And Einstein has a number of little, very what we like to see as important statements. Einstein, known famously as this famous physicist, started out as a teacher. And just like teachers starting out now, it was a tough time when he qualified and he wasn't able to get a job. So that's how he finished up in the patent office. A friend of his said, look, we can do it with you. And he went on from there. The idea of Einstein being the teacher is celebrated much more in other countries than here in Ireland. In America, 2 weeks ago, President Obama was presenting 10,000 each to over 100 maths teachers as their Einstein Maths Award. So it's quite big over there and also throughout Europe. The type of things he said, the only source of knowledge is experience. Now, we take that to hand and we run a lot of hands-on classes in physics because we believe that physics is experiential activity. And we'll see from the feedback as well that the participants believe the same. Imagination more important than knowledge. Very important that we kind of, I suppose, call a check to ourselves every now and then and allow students the creativity. As we saw from Paul earlier there with the iPhone, you know, there are super stuff out there that can be used very effectively to communicate the message in different ways. And the striving to be a success, but rather be of value. You know, very often we hear, my class got 8 A's last year. No, we never did an experiment that got 8 A's. Right? No need to do an experiment. And that was very good. It's a success story from that teacher. But for the students out there, you know, they mightn't have that passion and believe. Maybe none of those pursued physics afterwards or any career in physics. They might never even have known of them or never had the enjoyment of it. We don't know that. So what I'm saying is we have always to be conscious that what we're doing should be relevant to the students' everyday life. That's the interpretation we take from that. And so physics is all around us, and if we can set it in that type of context, that's what we aim to do. Now, Einstein thinks maybe this is what I think of your interpretations, but that's Einstein.
Can I ask you to...
Yeah, there's about a minute left, Paul.
You're the only thing between
the cup of tea.
Group and coffee.
Okay, here we go. this is the, I got the message. This is the teacher feedback, right? Okay. These are the type of courses that we're presently running. There's 2 induction courses coming out, one in Cork, one in Dublin. All right. The physics resource workshops in November, just say a word about those. There'll be a super resource CD compiled by colleagues and distributed to participants at those courses. And make sure all the details are on the website. And just to finish up, could I thank everybody? And I'll be around if there's anyone needs any questions or anything like that. So enjoy the conference.